Okay, now we're all familiar with the incident of the 13-year-old boy who, when his mother took away his Call of Duty game, he attempted to rape her, and then when he failed to do so, he took his gun and killed her. Now, we've all seen this story. We all know what it's about. The child had a history of mental illness, and obviously he's being held by the police right now. He's being charged, ... The exact details of this, or you can see in the source, you can see it in a multitude of other videos. Really what I wanted to talk about here, because I could just rehash the facts of the arrest and what happened, but that's what every video is doing. What I want to do is go into two specific things: the issue of gun control and the issue of video games' effect on violence on people. Now, in terms of the gun issue, I mean, we see this over and over and over again. A child killing somebody. I mean, this actually just keeps happening. There was the 8-year-old boy who accidentally killed himself in the gun show just recently. Just before that, it was another boy who accidentally killed his sister with his .22 rifle that he had been given by his parents. Okay. Now, the important point to make out here is that the child in this situation had a severe anger aggression disorder that caused him to have violent fits. Now imagine this. You are a parent. You have a child that has fits of violence and rage. Now give him a gun. I mean, this could almost, in a way, be classified as suicide. I mean, this could not be any more of a stupid thing to do. My criticism here is that while I have asserted over and over again that I am pro-gun, I am pro-ownership of guns, I am pro-ownership of anti-tank weapons being held by individuals, and even anti-aircraft weaponry held by individuals. I don't believe in any restrictions on weapons, pretty much none at all, except for possibly the exception of nuclear weapons. Now, I have always defended guns. I have always defended the rights of guns. I have shown time and time again various communist leaders did not take people's guns away, despite the baseless assertions of people like Alex Jones and other idiots. Now, when people are trying to defend the rights of guns by radicals defending it and conservatives trying to defend it, this is the problem. Things like this keep happening. We are trying to defend the right to own firearms while conservatives go ahead and do things like this. I'm sure this is a very pro-gun family. After all, they had guns, and they gave a gun to their child. So you got to figure this was a pretty pro-gun family. This BS has to stop. I mean, you can be as pro-gun as you want. Stop giving guns to kids. They clearly can't handle them. And for sakes, can you stop giving guns to mentally ill children? It shouldn't really be in the hands of mentally ill people anyway. But then to put them in the hands of mentally ill children is unbelievably stupid. And I can't think of any other word to describe that. It's just insanely stupid. It's when idiots do stuff like this, it gets harder for the rest of us to try to defend the ownership of guns. These people are retarding our own efforts to defend the right to gun ownership. And please, I want these people to think before they do something like that. While we believe gun ownership is a right, people can still be stupid with their rights and end up threatening those rights as a result. To the parents of the United States, stop giving your kids guns. And for Christ's sake, can you stop giving them to kids who are mentally ill? I get it. You're pro-gun. So am I. Education is the best thing for kids, to learn how to use a firearm. There is no need to actually give them one. You can still train them with them without actually giving them the gun. And this is the idiocy that's happening. This is what liberals use as ammunition against the ownership of guns. For Christ's sakes, it is one thing to have liberals trying to take your guns away. It's another to be taking them out of your own hands by your own stupidity. Now I want to move on to the subject of violence in video games and what effect it has. Now, there is no way you can say that it doesn't have an effect. Video games are like every single media that exists. Television, movies, speeches by political leaders. All of it has an effect. All of it promotes a particular viewpoint or opinion. This is the definition of propaganda. expressing a particular viewpoint or opinion. And video games are no different because they still have the same ability, they still carry out the same thing. However, having said that, the problem isn't video games itself. It is not that we live in a violent culture. A violent culture isn't the problem. What produces a violent culture is what causes the problem. If you go to societies that even have that have lots of guns and the deaths still don't happen. You can go to a country that has few guns and there's still a lot of deaths by guns. The guns themselves guns don't kill people. It's the number of guns doesn't matter. That's not the triggering factor, to use a word. I just spaced there for a second. The problem is alienation. Capitalism gives us an alienating society. Now, I could stand here and give you a very long speech on social alienation as a result of capitalism, but that would take forever for me to largely explain that. We become alienated from our labor, and we become alienated from our labor, we also become alienated from each other. Okay, just to make it quick and to get right to the point about it, how many times have you gone to a job where somebody was having a serious problem at home, it was affecting their work, and the boss was just like, I don't care. Just do your job. You know, I'm not here to help you. I'm here to run a business. Or the whole thing, leave your home life at home and don't bring it to work. I mean, doing this is ridiculous. It's a part of who you are. Your home life and your work life are both a part of you, and they're both a part of each other. They're all a part of who it is that you are in your social interactions with the world. And what capitalism does is alienate us from that. It alienates us from each other. And then when you alienate from each other, we get an alienated society. And this society becomes inherently self-destructive. It becomes poisonous, where we hate each other because relations between people now become commodity exchanges. It becomes dehumanized. Again, there's a very long whole description of social alienation under capitalism that I can give, but I just don't have time to do that in this video. When this alienation occurs, it is very easy to have triggering events. Okay, one of those being operant conditioning, meaning the urges were always there, but the visualizations of it, or the acts of carrying out, teaches people the tools, shows them how to carry it out. Yes, violent video games can trigger violent behavior. Of course it does. It's been shown in studies over and over again. But video games, violent movies, are not the problem. The problem isn't a violent society. The problem is an alienating society. Our social relations spring from our economic relations. Our economic relations alienate us. We stop caring about each other. Like, I'm not a part of that guy. I don't really care. Like I said, with the boss who says you have to leave your home life when you come to work, and the guy comes in, he's got problems, and it's like, well, I don't care about any of that. I got a business to run. If you can't handle it, get out. That's literally a perfect symbol for alienation. They literally don't care, because that's not the point of society. The point of society is to produce this productive activity at the expense of human life. This alienation is the problem. It is not guns. Guns are inanimate objects. They can't move or act of their own free will. Video games are operant conditioning, and we can see many other instances of operant conditioning as well. There was a really well done study that showed that people who had pedophile urges, from the time that they started, this was interviews done with people who were arrested and convicted of pedophilia, that when they go from, getting addicted to child pornography, from watching it, from beginning to watching it to actually carrying out those acts in real life, was a matter on average of 6 months. And that a lot of these people would never have done it had they not had the operant conditioning of having the child pornography demonstrating that to them. It's a propaganda. It's operant conditioning. Again, things like these with the violence in society and blaming it on video games, they would not be here if we didn't have alienating conditions in our society that were brought on by our economic relations. Video games are not the problem. Our alienating society from our alienating economic relations is what causes it. Of course, video games contribute to it, but their contribution would be non-existent if we didn't have a preset of conditions that were being brought on by the system itself. So people really do, there's two things here. You're either blaming the video games or you're blaming society. Both of these are incorrect. The games by themselves don't do it. It's not the society itself. It's our economic relations that our social relations spring from that bring alienation. You can't just sit there and say, oh, we just have a violent society. Oh, we just had a violent history. It's not that. It's not that. Those things are not the things to be blamed. It is our economic system that alienates us. And I highly suggest that you research social alienation, stuff written by Marx or by other Marxists, because it would be very, very useful in understanding why things are the way they are. But we need to stop blaming video games because it's really not them. They're just the operant conditioning under the social alienation that we suffer from.